Today I'm speaking about our practice of sitting itself, and how to work on the posture of sitting, posture of meditation that will be conducive to your practice. It fits into our theme of Diamond Sutra that you'll be hearing talks about. I'll just read you one part of this, that at the beginning it states, in the Diamond Sutra, and one day before noon, the Bhagavan, Buddha, put on his patched robe and picked up his bowl and entered the capital of Shravasti for offerings. After begging for food in the city and eating his meal of rice, he returned from his daily round in the afternoon, put his robe and bowl away, washed his feet, and sat down in the appointed seat. After crossing his legs and adjusting his body, he turned his awareness to what was before him. The sutra explicitly has actually it's very concise, but uses some words on that. He sat down in the appointed seat. It was a special seat. Crossed his legs and adjusted his body and turned his attention to what was before him. His sitting on the seat was an indication to the audience or disciples that the Buddha was going to give a talk. He adjusted his body. There's a story that when the Buddha decided he was going to sit under the Bodhi tree until he would discover what he wanted to discover, on the way there he met a grass cutter who gave him a gift of 8 handfuls of grass for his mat, because the grass went under the mat to make the seat more comfortable. And nowadays we have these nice mats from where Dharma Communications or wherever we buy them. And we have all sizes and shapes and different cushions and mats that we can use, or benches or chairs. It's worth our while to give some thought to this, because we're sitting hours every day, and we're often don't really discuss it, how this could be done. One aspect of it is having the state of mind, frame of mind about sitting, the importance of it. And there's a wonderful book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. You've probably seen Suzuki Roshi. You could read any paragraph from this and just get something out of it over and over again. It's quoted in another book, The Posture of Meditation by Will Johnson, so I'll just read that part. This is about our basic posture. You should not be tilted sideways, backwards, or forwards. You should be sitting straight up as if you were supporting the sky with your head. This is not just form or breathing. It expresses the key point of Buddhism. It is a perfect expression of your Buddha nature. If you want true understanding of Buddhism, you should practice this way. These forms are not a means of obtaining the right state of mind. To take this posture itself is the purpose of our practice. When you have this posture, you have the right state of mind, so there is no need to try to attain some special state. So we take this posture with really faith that it's sufficient at that time that we're doing it. There's other quotes in Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind I can paraphrase about this posture, the sitting that we do, Zazen, as being totally natural, that we're not doing, it's not something that we thought of as special to attain something. Suzuki Roshi speaks about frogs, how they sit cross-legged, perfectly still, waiting for a fly to come, and then get the frog, and then back to that composure once again. The frog doesn't know she's doing something special. She just sits there, sitting like that frog, or like a mountain completely dignified. And not really all that personal. Even though thoughts may be going through my mind as I sit here, or I have certain habits to tilt one way or the other. Ideally, it isn't that personal a posture that we take. It's sort of an ideal posture for comfortable sitting in complete dignity like that mountain, so that we can experience the dropping off of body and mind. That's like the lack of self-consciousness. Dogen, Master Dogen in 1227 wrote the Fukan Zazengi, which was his guide, the guide to Zazen, what it should be like. I'll just give a few quotes from there. Setting everything else aside, think of neither good nor evil, right nor wrong. Stop the function of mind, will, and consciousness. Do not strive to become the Buddha. As far as posture, he says, align your ears with your shoulders and your nose with your navel. I think that's wonderful because when we're thinking, judging, it's in our minds, or we associate that with our heads. So that immediately, though, is making the connection of our head with the rest of our body. Ears with the shoulders and nose with the navel. Rest the tip of your tongue against the roof of your mouth, with teeth together and lips shut, it says. But why would the tip of the tongue be against the roof of the mouth? Well, perhaps because the function of speaking involves the tongue, and the function of thinking is related to speaking. So I would imagine it's quieting the speaking, thinking, internal dialogue. Always keep your eyes open and breathe softly through your nose. Once you have adjusted your posture, take a breath and exhale fully. Exhale fully. Well, how many of us thinking of breathing are thinking of taking in, breathing in, getting something? Remember to exhale, letting go. Exhale fully. Let go of all that air, and naturally our bodies will want to take air in again, unself-consciously. Exhale fully. Rock your body right and left, and settle into a steady, immovable sitting. I think it says immovable. Think of not thinking. Not thinking. What kind of thinking is that? Non-thinking. This is the essential art of Zazen. And at the completion, move your body slowly and stand up calmly. Do not move suddenly or quickly. But at the end, retain that sense of equanimity from sitting. Get up slowly, and if you practice this with some of the other tips we'll share, you may find that you feel better when you stand up than when you sat down. Having a calmer mind, possibly, but also even your balance and sense of being upright and ease will be better standing up than when you started. That can happen, all that can happen, and it's related, body and mind being one. There's this really wonderful book, The Posture of Meditation by Will Johnson. The author wrote this about 20 years ago. He's not only a meditator, he's a Rolfer, does structural integration, and he's written translations of the poetry of Rumi and many other things, taking on a lot of different projects, and he's a nice email newsletter that you can get. But he talks about the posture. It's not a fixed thing, but it's something dynamic, because we, being alive, we're a process ourselves as we're breathing and being alive, and gravity is acting on us. He explains different stages of that. First one, there are 3 stages. He calls alignment, relaxation, and resilience. And we should focus on each of those in turn. So the alignment is being upright, having an upright spine. We're often told, be upright, be tall. Now what is that, and how do we do that without trying to become stiff, having something unnatural? Because we want this to be natural. It's a process of becoming comfortable with being upright in gravity. The first thing is we each have these sit bones that we're sitting on, whether we're in a chair or a cushion. I'd like you just to feel that with your hands under your bottom and feel that there's these two bones that are part of your pelvis that go down, and feel that they're very solid. If you can feel that, they're very solid, wide bones. And if you kind of lean forward and move forward, the bones kind of slip back, and then you can go backward and the bones seem to slip forward. And all our weight is on those, and they're very strong to support us. That should give you an awareness of where your weight is resting. Of course, we're ultimately resting on the floor and then relying on the earth, as Roshi was saying, the rocks and different kinds of hard parts of the earth. All the way down to the center of the earth is supporting us. So realize that. Ideally, we want to rest either directly on those sit bones or maybe slightly to the front of them. When we sit slightly on the front of the sit bones, we find that our spine will become curved. Maybe your belly will go slightly forward, very slightly. Your upper back will go backward and your neck will go a little forward. That's good, so your weight is basically on those sit bones. That your weight is going directly into the earth, through those bones to the floor and into the earth. Well, as a result, because our bodies have evolved through a long, long time to know how to work with gravity, that sends a signal. When we have that direct weight right there, a signal to be upright without working hard at it. You can imagine, to help this along, you can imagine that there's a vertical axis going through us, the spine, coming up through the floor, your pelvis, and up through your head. It's an image that helps us align our structure with the flow of gravity. And you can also picture that we're made of building blocks. So maybe the pelvis is a building block. Lower spine is a building block that right now for me is kind of going like that. Then there's a building block in the mid-spine, upper spine, and the neck, which is a continuation of the spine, and the head, all being building blocks that balance at various places. They're connected, but they balance at various places, like child's blocks. And you can think over time how to let that alignment occur without working too hard at it. That alignment is important so that then we can do the next stage, which is relaxing. But realizing that body and mind are inseparable, one, want to reduce tension in the body so that the mind can relax, then relax the mind so the body can eliminate that tension that's not important or needed. An important stage of getting your alignment better is that your cushions are correct if you're using cushions, or if you're in the chair, that you're comfortable in the chair, that your feet are supported. So if your feet are kind of dangling, it'd be good to probably put a cushion under that. You can raise yourself with additional cushions or find the right chair. If you're sitting on the floor, on the cushions on the floor or a mat, your pelvis should be higher than your knees. Your knees should be able to be in contact with the mat. Sometimes I see people's knees kind of up, but that means you're having to strain and hold yourself. So you want to eliminate that so the floor is completely supporting you. Your pelvis, sit bones, and your knees. So if you need to put something on your knees, that's fine. If your feet are strained or your ankles, you could even sometimes put cloth or something under your ankles so that your feet are more comfortable. And do whatever it takes, and you may find it evolves and changes over time. You can evaluate that. And just today, I realized my cushions were probably a little too high for that moment, so I got a smaller cushion. And the idea is with these building blocks, or you can think of yourself as a cylinder, as an empty cylinder or a bamboo tube or something. Release any extra tensions that you don't need. And then to explore this further and find that center point, you can sway. You can sway forward and back from the pelvis. So first go forward, and back, and I'm feeling myself on the sit bones. So I'm moving toward the front of the sit bones, then toward the back of the sit bones. I'm moving from my hip joints, so my legs aren't moving. Initiating from the pelvis, forward, back. And each time I move forward, each time I move forward and back, there's a slight amount of tension that comes into it as I'm reaching the point where I stop and come back to the middle. And you can feel that as you return to the middle each time, there's more of a sense of freedom and ease as you come to the center point. It's a place that's enjoyable, pleasurable to be, that center point, because you're aligning yourself more completely with gravity, gravitational force. Like a tall building that stays upright easily. Whereas if I'm leaning forward, I'm going to have to use muscles to keep myself from falling. If I'm in the middle, I don't have to use any muscular effort at all. I can let go, really let go, and drop off any of that thinking about myself. And then I can also sway from side to side. And it's worth, if you can get to the zendo, get inside the zendo early sometime and take time to do this, it will make a difference. You can sway from one side to the other. You can even make it large, whatever. You can feel your weight shifting from one sit bone to the other, actually. Can you sense that? And then each time I come to the middle, I feel that ease in the middle, that lightness, a feeling of lightness, of no effort at all. The closer I get to the middle. And that's a way of finding the middle, through that feeling of lightness that you can learn to identify. And then I can do other things. I can move randomly from the pelvis, from the hip joints. And I can make a circle. I can reverse the circle. So I have freedom in all directions, 360 degrees. And you can feel on the sit bones, kind of, there's making a circle on there, making a circle on the cushion too. I can make a figure 8. You feel that difference every time you come into the middle. Pay special attention. How nice that is. And then make the movement smaller and smaller, till you're really centered there, right there in the middle. What feels natural to you. It doesn't mean that you then stiffen at all. You still keep that sense of movement even if you aren't really moving very much. And then from the waist, I can bend from the waist to the left. And this will be different. As I bend to my left, I feel my right side goes down. My right sit bone kind of goes down. Bending from the waist. Bending from the waist. And again, coming to the middle. And the sit bone comes back. And the other side, same thing. Very slowly. It's another way of also exploring maybe habits or biases that we may have. Doing this, we can discover it and let it go until we're in the middle. And notice as you move to one side, the feeling gets more intense and then lighter as you get to the center. And then forward and back, I can move my spine backward. And initiating this with the pelvis, my spine moving backward, that means moving toward the back, and my stomach goes in. And then what happens with my chest and head? They kind of go down. And then come back. Chest and head goes down. What's the quality of feeling like this, or of mind? If I try to breathe like this, I'm not very free, I'm kind of squished. And then I could bring the pelvis forward, bring the spine forward. And the upper spine goes back, and feel what that's like. I feel my chest is out, I can breathe better. I don't want to stay in an extreme position, but it's just to explore it. And then you can go back and forward like that. And feel that center area. It's very easy. And during your meditation, you're sitting, your Zazen, it's another place you can explore, is that the pelvis can rock or roll and get some relief from being in one position for too long. You can get a slight change. So your back can change shape. So now I found where gravity can move through me and I can be upright. I still have that fluidity of all the movements, even though I'm not doing anything dramatic right now. Next is relaxation. I'll read a paragraph from what Will Johnson says about relaxation. Relaxation is a function of the body's ability to surrender its weight to the pull of gravity. If we are constantly bracing ourselves against the force of gravity, we cannot truly relax. This is why alignment is so crucial as the first step in establishing the posture of meditation. The upright structure of an aligned body, much like a tall tree or skyscraper, is both supported and stabilized by the force of gravity. Consequently, there is no need for it to brace itself against anything. It can completely surrender its weight to the pull of gravity, and still it remains standing. So as our muscles can relax, we can become aware of other sensations that are happening and our feelings. Whereas if we're trying to brace ourselves, it's a way of distancing ourselves from reality of the moment. So as you sit there, having found alignment, you can let go of any additional tension or contraction, starting with your scalp, your eyes and jaw, tongue, neck, space in the neck, shoulders, arms, wrist, hands, fingers, shoulder blades, ribs, pelvis, upper, lower legs, heels, feet and toes. You could do that. Sometime when you have time, you could lie down and do the same thing. Progressively relax throughout your body. And as there's less tension in your body that's not needed, the mind can relax also. Let's say thoughts can quiet. Maybe even the internal dialogue is a way of explaining the tension of the body. Not sure. The anxiety. It's hard to say what comes first, or maybe it's the same thing. And as you relax, you can go deeper and deeper and feel the subtle sensations that may exist. Even in our head, where a dialogue may seem to occur, there are sensations there. There's blood flowing in. As I breathe, the breath comes up and through all my joints, even into the head. Be aware of the pulsation in the head. Breath coming in and the sensations and the feeling of air around the head. There's more than just thoughts. There are other sensations also that we can be aware of. And Mr. Johnson calls it a somatic koan, that we can be aligned and relaxed at the same time. And those two aspects can play off each other. Becoming more and more relaxed, surrendering our weight to gravity. If you feel like you're going to fall in some direction, that means you're not aligned. So you look for that alignment, almost as if you're floating upward. The third pillar or part of this formula is resilience. Once we have alignment and relaxation, resilience. The posture of meditation itself would appear as a kind of somatic koan. Alignment and relaxation would initially seem to be contradictory impulses. We can easily imagine a soldier standing at attention, upright and erect. We can also easily imagine someone lying on the beach completely relaxed. The synthesizing of these two impulses into one compatible gesture, however, is much more difficult to visualize, and yet this is what the posture of meditation challenges us to accomplish. The exploration of this koan goes far beyond the simple securing of a stable posture. Unlike the inanimate materials that are used in the construction of tall buildings, the tissues and cells of the human body are animated by a life force that adds an extraordinarily dynamic element completely lacking in the steel girders that form the backbone of a modern skyscraper. While this inner force is always present, its fullest expression remains dormant or contained in most humans. One of the simplest explanations for this restriction is that the holding and muscular tension that are necessary to keep an imbalanced body standing erect effectively serve to contain that force and render it inactive. However, if a human body is able to come to balance not by exerting unnecessarily muscular effort, but by establishing a predominantly vertical structure, then that body can begin to liberate this force. He states that as we begin to feel that force, we'll feel like we're being elongated upward without any strain at all, any effort at all. Another good snippet from him here. About resilience. Resilience is the quality that nurtures the conditions of alignment and relaxation and extends their presence over time. We need to be resilient to extend the presence of alignment and relaxation. I don't want to say keep it. There's nothing to keep. It's a process that keeps going forward. Alignment is not a static condition that we seek to create and then maintain. It is an ongoing process that may change from moment to moment. Relaxation is not a static gesture. It too is an ongoing process. The body continues to let go of tension and yield to the appearance of new areas of sensation that continually present themselves. In the posture of meditation, the body is in constant, subtle motion. Without alignment, there can be no relaxation, but without resilience, there could be no relaxation either. Relaxation without resilience is a contradiction in terms. How can the body be relaxed, surrendering its weight constantly to the pull of gravity, and yet tensing its musculature in an attempt to hold itself very still? Pay attention to the process of breath, and find that process of breath, inhaling and exhaling, moves through every joint, or can be felt. If you become sensitive enough, letting go moves through every joint. One more part to read here about the breath. Moving upward from the belly, the force of the belly's expansion can stimulate the chest to open. The chain reaction continues as the force from this opening is immediately transferred to the shoulders, down the arms, and into the hands, all of which can be felt to respond to the force of the breath and to move ever so slightly. Finally, the neck and head can be felt to bob on top of it all. How about that? The neck and head can bob on top of it all. With the exhalation, the movement retraces its path. As the cycle of breath keeps continuing, the whole body can be felt to expand and contract in the manner of an amoeba. The movement down through the pelvis and the legs on the inhalation and back up into the navel on the exhalation is even subtler, but can still be distinctly felt. If this kind of resilient movement is unavailable, it is a sign that the body is still holding and bracing itself and is not relaxed as fully as it possibly can. So don't shut down to the sensations. He calls it shimmering sensations. Be open to that. And I could quote the poet Ikkyu, who said, "To harden into a Buddha is wrong." Having a still head leads to internal monologue and monologue with yourself. The head and neck are bobbing. You can let the movements and impulses move through. You can also do the opposite to see what it's like. What if you made your spine really still, as still as it could be? And sense what that's like, what your breathing is like. Not moving at all. And then let go. You can try the wrong thing. Think as much as you can. And then come back. So we can meditate on the relationship of the body to the gravitational field. As you quiet down, you can sense these subtle sensations. A good part here, 72, page 72 for those of you following. I can't find it, but that's okay. So as we sit here, allowing ourselves to come to terms with gravity, in a gentle way, letting the head and neck bob like that, Mr. Johnson notes that we can be aware of the mask that we put on socially, the persona that we put on, and let the mask fade away. He further says, we all want relaxation, but how relaxed are you willing to let yourself be? That our conventional sense of ourself is held together by tension and by striving. But by sitting here like that mountain, or like a frog, just waiting, trusting that it's enough, and looking for the alignment, relaxation, and resilience, we can let go of that tension and really be our true selves, not seeking something and not avoiding it, which is also reflected in our sensations, the recoiling, the fear, avoiding something. You can let that go. You can also help yourself by occasionally lying down somewhere and sensing your body there, feeling your breath. Doing the body practice that we do here helps a lot as the week goes on. And then once you find those three areas, alignment, relaxation, and resilience, you can continue a subtle movement as you sit. Very subtle. As I breathe, my belly expands. Maybe I'll go forward somewhat or back. Because I'm alive and forces in my body as well as gravity, I'm going to have a subtle movement. I shouldn't fight that. Feeling it happen to my pelvis. It may not be visible, but let it happen. That's part of the resilience. And finally, when the bell rings at the end, you're ready to stand up. Get up very slowly. And keep that sensation. And then even when you're walking, you can keep these three attributes alive in you. I bend over to wash the dishes, and then I come back. You're feeling every movement sort of a deviation from that center of alignment, which is okay. Do that, come back. Feel that lightness. So, I invite you to try this to now and during the retreat, and see how your practice may be transformed. Thank you. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible.